we're evolving, and I think there's sort of a different future because we're figuring out what blended learning looks like.
Welcome to episode 425 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. This is Rye Marcatilio McCracken here at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. Today, Christopher talks with Jill Levine, Chief of Innovation and School Choice at Hamilton County Schools, along with Evan Freeman, Director of Government Relations at EPB, the City of Chattanooga's electric power and fiber internet utility, as well as Deb Sosha, President of the Enterprise Center. Together, the group discusses the recent landmark announcement by Hamilton County Schools of HCS EdConnect, in which the schools, local government, EPB, and local stakeholders and philanthropic organizations have made it possible to connect all school children on free or reduced lunch programs in the district to free 100 megabit symmetrical internet access for the next 10 years. Jill, Evan, and Deb discuss the challenges of setting up the partnerships that made it happen, overcoming obstacles, including dealing with tens of thousands of new customers with unique skills and needs, and how they managed to pull it off. Now here's Christopher talking with Jill Levine, Evan Freeman, and Deb Sosha.
Welcome to another episode of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. I'm Christopher Mitchell at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance in St. Paul, Minnesota. And today I am just so excited to talk about one of the best announcements of the year. It's been a hard year, and we have just a great announcement to discuss today. We're going to talk about what's happening in Chattanooga around the Hamilton County schools with internet access, getting out to all the kids in the free and reduced lunch program. And if I made any mistakes, it'll be cleaned up shortly. On the show today, we're going to have Jill Levine, who is the Chief of Innovation and School Choice at Hamilton County Schools. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm so excited to talk about this, and I'm glad that we don't only have Deb, who I'll introduce in a second. I get to throw shade at Deb after all these years.
We love Deb, though.
Yes, that's why, because I'm sure I'll get negative emails for even that little bit of shade. We also have Evan Freeman, the Director of Government Relations at EPB, the municipal electric power and wonderful internet provider in Chattanooga. Welcome to the show, Evan.
Thanks for having me.
And we have Deb Sosha, who's been on several times, who is an inspiration to everyone working in this field, president of the Enterprise Center now in Chattanooga. Hey, Deb.
Hi, Chris. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. And I would give full credit to Deb for pulling this panel together. When I told her that I wanted to talk to the folks that could give us the best information, she pointed out Jill and Evan. So we're going to mostly have them fill in the gaps. But so Jill, I want to start. I teased this, and I think most of the listeners who are following this had already heard. But this is just remarkable that so many kids now will have home internet access, basically all of them in the schools, we would assume. And so I want to ask you first, how excited are the Hamilton County schools to be at the forefront of this?
Oh, well, it's so exciting. I mean, what this means to us is that 17,000 low-income households that previously weren't able to connect to virtual learning at high enough speeds to access, videos and Zoom and those sorts of things are now going to be able to. So, principals all over the district are saying to me, I know this family who was, we closed down school on March 13th last year and were disconnected. As even though with great efforts to stay connected with families, a lot of kids were disconnected from learning. And so families are now being hooked up to the high-speed internet, and kids are able to learn from home safely as they need to be right now. So people are very excited about this.
Excellent.
And I should say it's a 10-year commitment. So this isn't something we're just doing for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. This is a commitment that our community has made for the next 10 years.
Yeah, so 1 and 2-year-olds can be excited about it too.
Good point.
So, Evan, I have to say, I first met Harold DePriest more than 10 years ago. And at that time already, EPB seemed like a place to work where people had real mission and drive. And I have to assume there's a lot of pride in bringing this kind of level of connectivity to the entire community now. Just give me a sense of how people feel about it over, at the Electric Power Board.
Everybody's excited about it. It's been pretty cool because I'm fairly new to the company, and one of the big things since I've been at EPB that I've learned is there's a huge emphasis on community engagement and a huge emphasis on just being there, being a good corporate steward. Being able to assist in closing the digital divide, that's something that's been on every member of the staff. That's been on the front of their mind for so long, and just to be a part of this opportunity to jump in and help the community is huge.
Wonderful. And Deb, as a former principal, I assume you hate children, so you're probably not very enthusiastic about this.
You know how much I care about this, Chris. And I have to say, we're really lucky to have such great partnerships. And what I love is not only is everyone passionate about making sure children are connected, they're passionate about working together to make it happen. So we are finding ways around any problem that presents itself to ensure that every child is connected.
So let's talk about this now exactly. Jill, tell us exactly how this works. So for people who have only heard a couple of references about it, you said 17,000 families, but what is actually happening here?
First of all, our community partners came together determined to reduce the digital divide and raised millions of dollars. So that happened first in order to make this happen. And I think it's important to know that's the Chattanooga way. People come together from all different areas and think about how can we make things possible and collaborate and continue to collaborate while we figure it out. This is not easy. And that's why a lot of places haven't figured it out. It's just not easy to do.
No one. I mean,
right. No one has figured it out. No one's figured it out with the speed that we have with our internet, which is 100 megabits per second with symmetrical upload and download speed. So for us from the school district, what that means is that we had to identify which families qualified. At this point, we have emailed all of those families. If they didn't respond at first, we've emailed again. And again, we've now sent text messages to all those families to fill out a survey. So far, we've had about 10,000 students opt in, and then we share that information with EPB, and they schedule installation. And I think we're getting close to 3,000 kids now being part of the program. It's going to take us some time to get to the 17,000 because, you've got to wire and install infrastructure and all of those kind of things to make it happen. But more and more kids are getting connected every day and being able to access high quality learning from home.
Evan, I have to ask about this because there's communities that have 17,000 homes in entirety, and it takes them years to connect them. How are you all preparing to do this?
Well, we have the infrastructure, the fiber infrastructure that was laid years ago. And you referenced that back in 2010, and now it's just identifying those homes that have not had access that you could put the ONTs onto their homes and provide routers. So right now we're just working through that and identifying the families that need that service.
And now this is something that, Deb raised her hand.
I just want to say, these things don't happen without amazing people like Jill and Evan. But I also want to compliment the elected officials here. Mayor Burke and Mayor Coppinger, the city and the county, David Wade from EPB, Dr. Johnson from the school department. The fact that they are all so committed to this is part of the reason this is going to work. Because every single problem that comes up, we find a solution, right? And I think that's part of why this will be successful, and I am so convinced it will be.
That's a good point, Deb, and I think it's worth noting as well that not only do people in Chattanooga, particularly in this technical space, work together in that way, we don't see people demanding credit. I look at the kind of leadership of David Wade, does a lot of really great things. Mayor Burke, they're doing this stuff because they know it's right. And I also have worked in enough communities where I see really good ideas that don't come to fruition because the head of public works is not interested or something like that. And so I think it's really worth highlighting that in the community. But Evan, I do want to raise the question of this is something that is going to cost millions of dollars. And I'm just curious if you can give us a sense of why the electric utility couldn't just do it itself. Chattanooga is one of the most successful fiber networks. What are the restrictions that would have stopped you from trying to just do this in-house?
Since we're a municipal electric company, we're restricted to give away, because of state law, we can't provide any service for less than what it cost us to put it out there. So in that case, we had to raise the money. So in our initial conversations, when we got the number that it was going to be about 17,000 households, we figured out what that would cost if we had, putting the ONTs on the homes and building out fiber in areas that build into the home in areas that don't have it. So that's when we came up with the $8.2 million, and we had to go out to our community partners and to piggyback on what Deb said. Every person that we've talked to, as soon as we talked to the city mayor and the county mayor and with our foundations, which really stepped up big time, and some of our corporate partners, once we, told them, hey, this is what we need, everybody, it was all hands on deck. Everybody, threw money in and made a big commitment right away.
And so, Jill, if you could step back to the beginning, I'm curious, who came up with the idea first, or kind of like at what point did you become aware of it?
I became aware of it when our superintendent, who is quite visionary, started saying, yeah, I've got another call with David Wade, gotta go. Got another call with David Wade. And they were in conversation all the time, trying to figure out how to make this work. And then other community partners, our mayors, like you said, we have a city mayor and a county mayor, the enterprise center, the foundations, just started to think about, how can we make this work? So, as has been said, it's incredible collaboration among visionary people who, you're exactly right, no one's stepping forward and saying, we take full credit for this, because every person had a part, or every organization has had a part in bringing this forward. And so then once we sort of got it going, we developed a collaborative team of those on this call and several others who meet weekly just to collaborate, to problem solve, to develop structures and data tracking systems and all the kind of details that we have to have, communications, all those things to make this work for the long term.
And I'm curious about that. What are some of those things? Because I feel like for a lot of us, we just think, oh, well, no problem. 17,000 families. Why not just connect them? And of course, the schools will know exactly how to handle this. So there's so many details. The outreach to families has been really important. We cast like the widest net first through, an email survey and then text messages, but it's going to come down to personal contact and some paper pencil with some families to get them signed on and get them engaged. That has to be in multiple languages, and we have to build trust with some of our families to get them to, want to sign on as well. So there are a lot of pieces related to that. We have families in our school district who are outside the service area. So we also, our school board approved last night some additional funding to buy hotspots. We also built into our fundraising money for hotspots. And so some families will have those instead of the EPB service just because they're outside of the service area. We had to think about communications and, how do we get the word out there? How do we help 79 schools know how to help families who are trying to opt into this program? And then a data tracking system of, if people respond to the survey, how does it populate into a system that we can then share with EPB, that they can share back with us to tell us, when a family is actually installed and ready to go. So it's just, it's very elaborate and complex, and there are a lot of hurdles that we've had to work through together to overcome. But as I said, I think people are excited about what this is going to mean for kids, particularly underserved kids who have been part of this digital divide and haven't had a connection. And now we're bridging to all of these families. And I do think just great equity move in our community. And again, it's 10 years. It's not something that we're doing until there's a vaccine for the coronavirus. This is a 10-year commitment to our families. And I think that's really inspiring in many ways. I agree. And you just reminded me of the 10 years. You said earlier about the 100 megabits. That is, without a doubt, one of the most generous programs we've seen for a program like this for low-income families. Chattanooga's network runs at 10 gigs for the highest end, which is the fastest in the world for any sort of residential connection. So, Evan, I'm curious about the kind of costs that you're anticipating. So you mentioned there's a significant cost to get all the connections out there. I would guess you're also going to see additional costs because presumably, even if the school devices that are handed out work all the time, families that are going to be on these connections will probably have other devices that may be older. They might have a little less literacy. They might need more customer service support. Have you had to prepare the utility to just deal with an influx of customers that may need more help?
Certainly. I mean, a lot of the big picture is a lot of the folks are already our electric customer. And if we have a partnership with the Enterprise Center, and they're going to be really, really handling a lot of that technical end and customer service. So we're really looking forward to partnering with them and how that all is going to connect.
And Deb, I wanted to throw you a question. I think you might have something you want to ask me as well, but or you may have a point you want to make. But I was excited to know that you're a big part of this, because I'm sure you have some sort of a plan for digital literacy and things like that in terms of how you're going to handle making sure that it's not just the kids that get to use the network, but the adults feel comfortable with it, and wherever there's barriers along those lines.
Yeah, we're already working on it. And I actually spoke with David Wade this week about a plan for how we're going to manage some of the extra service calls. And I anticipate it's going to happen, right? I mean, that's already, quite honestly, EPB takes calls like, I don't know how to do my email. And they help people solve those problems, which is pretty amazing. You don't hear a utility or an ISP doing that very often, but we imagine this is going to be at scale, quite a lot of calls. So we're working on a plan for that. We've already created, in anticipation of this, a whole bunch of Tech Goes Home shorts, we're calling them. So they're just short videos about how do you get on Zoom, how do you use the particular programs that the district is using for student learning at home. How do you use those programs? How do you use the school district portal? You know, they use Power School. How do you get onto that? How do you use it as a parent? All of these are things we will be working out as we move forward. And for sure, it's kind of a powerful collaboration between everybody involved in finding those solutions.
Now, when you say you're making these videos, first of all, that's the Enterprise Center, right? You're doing that. And then how are you making them available so people will know where to look for them and things like that?
Yeah, that's obviously a challenge, because if you're not connected at home and all of a sudden you're connected, how do you know where to go, right? And so there is paperwork that's going home with folks about how to connect to these resources, but also talking with EPB and with local public television about putting them on television, about making them available by sending it out by email. Because if somebody's using their phone, they can certainly use their phone to watch that short video, right? And so figuring out all the ways we can do that, in addition to empowering our Tech Goes Home class to be online, which it now is. We are doing a maximum number of courses this fall for families and schools, as many as we can possibly manage. And I think that's the challenge, is meeting the need for information and devices as well as for home access. And I feel like we're pretty well positioned to figure all that out.
Joe, I'm curious if there are challenges within the classroom. You're at the forefront now of where teachers could theoretically assume that every kid is going to have high quality access. Now, you can't assume everyone's going to be on the same network, because some families may have chosen, perhaps foolishly, to go with a rival in the marketplace. But I'm curious, is there some sort of level of preparing for the out of school that you're able to do, or you're able to forego certain worrying about access? Like, how is this different in the school, in the classroom?
Hats off to our teachers who right now we're running school on an A-B schedule, and we have about 40% of our students full-time at home. And then we have the other 60% who half are coming on Monday and Tuesday and the other half on Thursday and Friday. So teachers are teaching kids in all different ways right now. And they have different kids in their classrooms on different days. And we're really dependent on the internet working and all of our tech tools working, so that we can figure all of this out. It's incredibly challenging, but I've seen some real success. And of course, this program, the HCS Ed Connect, powered by EPB, is what we call the program. is making this more possible for more kids. So, we last spring when we went to at-home learning for 45,000 kids, one of our biggest fears was that we were going to lose them, that we were going to lose track of them. And we very quickly set up a tracker to see, like, at what's, how many kids have we not heard from in any given school? Where are they? How can we reach out to them? And we were keeping up with that. And a lot of it was because they didn't have internet access or quality internet access. So again, this program is going to make a huge difference. It's already making a difference. And we're really excited about that. And I think it means a lot for the future. The kids won't like this, but snow days. Or tornado days, which we have down here in Tennessee sometimes, or kids that have had to have surgery and can't come to school. We're evolving, and I think there's sort of a different future for all of those things because we're figuring out what blended learning looks like.
Yes, that last bit is fascinating as we think about the implications, especially as I would expect that there will not be a situation for several years in which I think school districts aren't worried about, perhaps even just for a month, having a hotspot or something like that. Once we go through this problem, we're going to have a virus pop up here or there, I think, and now we'll be able to deal with it. Now, Evan, I'm curious, as a government relations person, I feel like one of your jobs is to just really have a sense of what other people are talking about and being networked and things like that. And how are people reacting to this announcement?
Everybody's been excited about it. Again, the county and city, including the city council, county commission, the school board, all the members everybody's been really excited about it. And it's been talked about a lot. I mean, even on the state level, there's just been some interest in how did you get that done? And congrats to Chattanooga for doing it. So it's really gotten a lot of good feedback and a lot of interest from around the state.
And have you had any feedback from folks who have traditionally been a bit hostile to Chattanooga with this network program? I mean, I know Senator Bowling has been a champion, but there's been others in the legislature who haven't been as supportive of what you guys and other municipalities have done.
Sure. I think with COVID and the situation that we're in right now, that everybody's in, I think everybody realizes the importance of internet access more than any time before. So coming to that realization and adding solutions, which we've come up with a solution for schools, seeing that, I think that's sort of changed their mind, or at least piqued an interest or looked in a direction they haven't looked before.
Great. I would presume that this is a population of children, in part because of my experience in St. Paul with low-income families that presumably have to move around a lot. And this isn't something where I think in December you'll be done. I'm presuming this is something you're going to have to, as new kids are coming on, this is an ongoing project for EPB to keep making sure folks are connected, right?
Sure. Yeah. And this will follow the student, no matter what address they go to. And that's something we're working through with Enterprise Center and with Jill and the school system on tracking and being able to keep up with those addresses as they change.
Deb?
And honestly, the fact that it's free to the families is enormous. And the fact that if a family is currently paying EPB for service and they are on free and reduced lunch, they still qualify for free is pretty amazing, right? I mean, I feel like that is a stark difference from what we hear often when we're trying to solve these problems, right?
Yes. And one of the things that I feel like we're starting to see I'll give Comcast credit, although there's plenty of things we can say where we disagree with them. Their $10 a month program has set the bar, and it's made a lot of difference in millions of families' lives. But one of the things we've seen because of research on that over the years is that $10 a month is not something all families can handle. And so making it free really is that next step that's important to get everyone connected.
And free and high speed. So if you look at the difference in the speed, if you're at 100 megabits per second versus 25 or whatever the case may be, that just makes learning more accessible for kids.
Right. I was thinking that if the Octomom moved to Chattanooga, all the kids could be Zooming in their own classes without a problem on that connection.
As long as she has 8 devices.
Right.
Well, and we never have charged children for textbooks, right? Learning has to happen in a way that allows every child access to the resource. And we have always given every child a textbook. And in this case, the learning happens by computer and internet access. And so we must provide equitable opportunities.
Deb, this is something that I had a little bit of advance notice on from a certain friendly little bird in Tennessee, and I knew at that time there was hope that the money would be raised, and I know the money is still there's still more money that needs to be raised. There's enough to get it going, but can you tell us a little bit about where the money's coming from?
Sure, we have had such great partners, great philanthropy locally that has donated. Also, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. The city, the county, the school department, all of them have donated. We still have a delta of a few $1 million. We would love to have more donors consider providing support. And the other thing I would love to see is some funding to do some research. This is such a unique moment in time with such potential for outcomes, not just for the children in the program, but for the whole family. And I would love to have some research done to show how having this access impacts quality of life for all.
And I want to hear from Jill and Evan on that. And I want to ask about the indirect benefits that we would expect to see in the community as a result of this, because this is something that Deb, you and I have discussed more recently. And I think it is just so important because I don't think people appreciate the return on investment that we will see from bringing high quality connectivity. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Telehealth is one that a lot of people are aware of now that we'll see these benefits from. But Jill, can you give us a sense of what other benefits we might see aside from just better learning opportunities?
Well, we talk about equity a lot in our community, but a lot of times that's really in the abstract. And this is a really concrete way to advance just the whole principle of equity and to provide opportunity for kids who otherwise won't have it, don't have it. So that's one. But also when kids are connected to high quality learning, they learn more. And we need a better educated workforce in our community. We want to attract business here, and we want to provide people that are ready to go to work and do a great job for businesses when they move here. So I think this is a great step in the right direction as far as that goes as well.
I want to make a prediction, and we can laugh at me. Maybe we'll come back in a couple of years you can laugh at me. I think disciplinary records may go down. I think we may see, I think that kids having something to do, and I mean, like it might just be video games. I think there's a lot to be said for kids having things in their lives they're really excited about, and that keeping them out of trouble. And that's, I think in the schools is a place where I really hope that you'll notice that it happens.
The other piece of that is that when your parents are engaged, students are much more successful. There's tons of research on that. But also when your parents are engaged and the teachers can communicate more quickly and easily with parents, trust me, discipline issues go down. Right?
And so, Evan, I'm curious what other things you might expect in terms of benefits that we may not expect from this just unprecedented opportunity.
I think telehealth is going to be huge, especially, I mean, if you're talking about the pandemic we're going through now, and the most vulnerable population is that of seniors and low income folks. So being able to now have access to that, another step, down the road could be engaging healthcare providers to provide, better telehealth services, and getting those devices in the home. Workforce development's, I think, a big piece. I mean, just a lot of, I can think of family members off the top of my head that are not going to have to go to the library and apply for a job application and put in a job application. They could do that from home and have the access to do it. And again, just having all this information at your fingertips, the online school for adults, going back to school, all those opportunities just open up.
That's wonderful. So let me ask Deb, is there any last words that you have for us?
I will say that I have spent a lot of my life working on this issue, and I am thankful to have landed in this place at this time to be part of HCS Ed Connect, powered by EPB. It is a joy to be involved.
I believe it. Thank you so much for your time. Evan, I'm a little bit worried. The river has not moved behind you in all this time we've been talking, so you may want to check things out. Might be a wizard around.
I actually took that picture when I was running, so this is just showing how fast I was going.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Evan.
Thanks, Chris. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Always good to see you.
That was Christopher talking with Jill Levine, Evan Freeman, and Deb Socia. We have transcripts for this and other podcasts available at muninetworks.org/broadbandbits. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org with your ideas for the show. Follow Chris on Twitter. His handle is @CommunityNets. Follow muninetworks.org stories on Twitter. The handle is @muninetworks. Subscribe to this and other podcasts from ILSR, including Building Local Power, Local Energy Rules, and the Composting for Community podcast. You can access them anywhere you get your podcasts. You can catch the latest important research from all of our initiatives if you subscribe to our monthly newsletter at ilsr.org. While you're there, please take a moment to donate. Your support in any amount keeps us going. Thank you to Arnie Huseby for the song Warm Duck Shuffle, licensed through Creative Commons. This was episode 425 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. Thanks for listening.